really useful tools that Google has developed that can be applied to family history or genealogy research is Google Maps. And so if you've got a Google account, a Gmail account, and you log into Google, you can just click on these little dots here and go to the different apps, and you'll find the Maps app in there. So let's open this up and I'll show you a couple of things that you can do which are really pretty useful. So let's start with creating a custom map. So let's suppose you have some information about your ancestors or family and where they lived, and you want to kind of map that out. Or maybe they're even part of a larger group, a group of immigrants or something like that. That was the case in my family. So they settled in Ogden, Utah. A lot of Dutch immigrants lived in an area of Ogden that was called Dutchtown, and I created a custom map to kind of show where everybody lived and to map it out, and it really highlighted the significance and the concentration of Dutch immigrants in that one part of town. So the way you do this is you come over here to these little lines once you're into maps, and you go into your saved maps, and here you're able to either create a new map. And by the way, you have lists, you have labeled, you have places you visited, but you go to maps here up on the left and you collect maps, and then you can open it in maps, which is the easiest way to view this, and this is where you can actually edit as well. And then you'll say it will have your saved maps, or you see the button up here, you can create a new map. But let's take a look at the Ogden Dutchtown map that I've created, and you'll see how useful this can be. So again, this is a part of West Ogden, Utah, and if you zoom in a little bit, you can see the streets, and each of these houses is a house where immigrants lived. And over here on the left is an alphabetical list, or you can put it in whatever order you wish. But as you highlight or you scroll down here and mouse over the different addresses, it highlights on the right where that location is. So it's easy to find where somebody lived, where an address was. And let's just click on one of these. Let's click on 249 West Patterson Street, and you can see that Grace Cap Hudgens lived there in 1932 at 249 West. Um, if you want to add another one, you simply come up here and you click this and you drag it in, and then you select the type of icon. You'll see for the houses I use this house icon. If it's a church, you can use this church icon, and then you can actually draw shapes as well. So you'll see this area out here. If we click on this, this was the Dutch Hollow area. So this was an area along the west banks of the Weber River where a lot of the Dutch immigrants lived in tents because they couldn't afford homes, and my family were part of that group that lived out there for some time. I was able to draw the railroad track in here. This was a farm of an ancestor here. George Buckway had a farm, and able to map that out and create that as well. So really a great way to go in. And of course, what we learned in doing this, there were a couple of areas where there were heavy concentrations of Dutch people. Stevens Avenue, almost every single house had Dutch immigrants living in it, and Pingree Avenue as well over here between 32nd and 33rd Streets. Also, nearly everybody was a Dutch immigrant on that street at one time. And as you zoom in, you'll see the existing homes, the current homes. Those show up in the maps, and then you can actually just go in and align the addresses to those, assuming the addresses haven't changed over time. But anyway, that's one really great tool in maps, which I've used extensively. The other one, let me go take a look at this one here. If we go into just Google Maps and we want to search for something, there's a street in Holland where my ancestors lived, and I had heard from a person who lived over there that the street was called Molenlaan, which I guess is Windmill Lane, and it's in the town of Siddeburen. So if I just do a search for Molenlaan in Siddeburen, it will pull that up, and we search, and here we go. Here's Molenlaan. This is the little street, and you see it's not very long, a couple of blocks, and there are actually some pictures that have been posted there as you mouse over that. But the coolest thing is to come down here to the right and grab the street view, which you've probably used in the map function, but it's especially useful in a country where maybe you may not travel or you haven't traveled to before. So if I grab that and drag it over the street here and drop it in there, all of a sudden I'm on Molenlaan, and I'm able to see the houses and see the street. And as I move down the street, I can click through and see different addresses there. And again, this was an important place for my ancestors, and where some of them lived right here. There was an old molen here, a windmill, and if we, I think, move down the street here, we'll actually see that. yes, lo and behold, if you look over here, you see that building that was looks like part of a former windmill. So that may have been the place where they actually lived at the time they were living in the windmill. Those were homes for a lot of Dutch people. But anyway, another really cool feature. As you see, the resolution of the video is amazing. It's very detailed, and especially in a country like Holland and these little villages where everything is so clean and neat and orderly, it's just exactly as it was described by our ancestors. And it's a lot of the architecture hasn't really changed over that time as well. So a really great opportunity to go in and get a feel for what it was like uh, to be in the place where your ancestors came from.